Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition, to another installment of hashtag Fade to Black. I am your host, Dallin Monty Morris. I'm joined by my panel, and y'all already know Beach Johnson is going to come in his sneaky shaft way. But other than that, panelists, Anita Joke, aka Cheech, here with Seepaway. How's everybody doing?
Good,
Fine. How are
good.
you this evening?
Chole Min.
Good. Just another crazy, fantastic day. Once again, we're starting a little bit late, but with all the stuff that's going on my end, all that stuff, everybody else came on time, so applause to y'all. But let's go ahead and get started with our favorite part of the show with the opening statements. Seep away, lead the way.
For my opening statement, I would just say that right now there is a lot of discussion about what should be done. The country's talking about what should be done. The Black community's talking about what should be done. So there's a whole lot of discussion, which is good and which is healthy. And I understand tonight we are going to talk about what should be done. And I think that in terms of the Black community, we need to first identify what is our agenda, independent of anybody else. And once we come up with our own agenda for our own self-preservation and self-interest, once we have that, then we can use that as a negotiating tool to figure out how to maneuver in this political system. So that's my opening statement.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my opening statement is this. I concur with what Seepaway was saying. Now, we can come up with our own plan. Y'all can also engage as well to put in what y'all think. We could be talking about economics. We could be talking about education. We could be talking about reparations. Everybody have given me, their plan. And then also we got Ice Cube's contract for Black America as well. It's 22 pages, so we're not going to go through all of it. We're just going to get to the important parts of his contract plan. I kind of schemed over it just a little bit. But I want to touch on the Ice Cube real quick, and then I don't want to hear anything else about it anymore. For everybody who's just jumping on the coattails of defending Ice Cube, feel sorry for Ice Cube, stop. Y'all probably gonna hate me for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Timing is everything. Before I got up on here, I actually read an article about him revealing his contract of Black America. It was published July 31st of this year. My issue is, and I'm going to stick with it, he could have said something then. He could have said something to the Trump administration, said something to the Biden administration. And he decided to say something about it now and try to talk to both of the campaigns and all that stuff. I hate to say it, it is what it is. So everybody stop feeling sorry for Ice Cube. He's a grown-ass man. Y'all have to understand, when you put yourself out there on Jump Street, you deserve much of the roses as well as the rocks thrown at you. You can disagree with me or not, but it's happening. We're not going to dissect, but we're going to look into the important parts of his plan. And I applaud him for creating a contract and actually stepping out to doing a contract for us. But timing, ladies and gentlemen, timing is everything. You can have the best of best intentions. You can have the best plan. on paper. But if you present it at the wrong time, all that work is going to be for naught. And people are going to be talking about other things other than that contract or proposal that you was trying to put out there to help us or for anything of that matter. So it's good to support Ice Cube, but don't try to sit there and just feel sorry for him. He's a grown-ass man. He will go through as much as the next person. If I put myself out there and I did it in bad timing, I deserve everything that comes to me. That's the nature of the beast. So stop. Because eventually, whoever wins this election is going to look at that idea. They're still going to look at that contract, and we're going to see who's going to put up and who's going to shut up. Ice Cube is going to be okay. Ice Cube's going to be all right. And that's my opening statement.
Negadev, I greet you with the well of greeting of hello, how are you? Let me take my glasses off because I can't see with them at this range. This evening, I want to talk about what this life is all about. Challenge. What is a challenge? And how do you deal with challenges? Will determine whether you are successful or whether you are a failure. Now, I took some time, a moment, to look up the word challenge. And actually, I was surprised at the various definitions. And I'll give you one definition. When the word challenge is used as a noun, it is called to take part in a contest or a competition, or an inquiry to the truth of something. Often it is an implicit demand for proof. So as I looked at these definitions and I'm thinking, a call to take part in a contest. And I think about the structure of systematic racism and wonder how can this word fit the African American in terms of overcoming that challenge. To take part of a contest or a competition. I think that's what this life is all about. Meeting your challenges, facing your challenges, strategizing to overcome your challenges. And in here, in these United States of America, racism is the African Americans' challenge. Now, how we deal with it remains to be seen. Historically, we have overcome, defeated every challenge that has been put before us. So that alone gives me hope and it gives me faith that in 2020, like our ancestors overcame the challenges of their day, we can overcome the challenges in our day. So we are going to look at the challenge of being Black in America, where we're living inside of a system of systematic racism. This is my opening statement, to look into how we can build, each of us individually, as every household, every community, and a broader society can take part in to overcome the challenge by creating our very own Black agenda.
Good evening. For my opening statement, I want us to think of mathematical equations and how some are simplistic, some only adhere to specific structures of math, being algebra, geometry, calculus. But then you have more advanced, complex equations that require a combination of two or more substructures of math in order to get the final answer. You might have to do a little algebraic equations in order to get a value that you can plug into for your calculus in order to get the right number to add in for your angles to get your geometry right in your physics. That being said, as we deal with this issue and this problem ahead, we need to understand that it's going to take multiple disciplines and multiple areas of expertise to come together in order to finally get down to the true solution. In order for that to happen, people are going to have to understand that just because you find one way that might be beneficial or advantageous, it may not be the finite end-all solution, but may merely be a facet and a instrument along its path. But you cannot allow yourself to just think just because it works doesn't mean it will sustain and that it will continue, because as we all know in life, change is the only true constant. So a true solution must be flexible to allow for that change to naturally occur without any ramifications. Like I said before, it's going to take everyone to get on board and to come together. So as we continue down these discussions, as we continue coming together for these solutions, let us know that not one solution is the solution, but it's merely a portion of the true solution. For that, that'd be my opening statement. Let's get
Well, Beast Johnson, thank you for that opening statement. I want to start off the show with this video that Teach actually sent to sum up what this show today is going to mean. And let me go ahead and put this up here, as you will see it on the screen. So we're not going to play the whole entire thing, but we just going to give you the gist of how important this show is going to be.
And you also, your soul, your needs, your political desires and needs, because that is Huey's soul. When we first organized the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, he would say, Bobby, he says, we're going to draw up a basic platform, just basic, that black people can read. He says, we don't want to go real elaborate with all these essays and dissertations and all this stuff, because the brother gonna look at that and he say, man, I ain't got time for that. I gotta go see what I can do for myself. It's just a basic platform that the mothers who struggle hard to raise us, that the fathers who worked hard, that the young brothers in school who come out of school semi-illiterate, you say we want freedom, we want power to determine the destiny of our black community, full employment for our people. Number 3, we want housing fit, decent housing fit the shelter of human beings. Number 4, we want all black men to be exempt from military service. Number 5, we want decent education for our black people in our communities that teaches us the true nature of this decadent racist society, and to teach black people and our young black brothers and sisters their place in society, because if they don't know their place in society and in the world, they can't relate to anything else. Number 6, we want an end to the robbery by the white racist businessmen of black people and black people in their community. Number 7, we want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. Number 8, we want all black men held in county, state, federal jails and prisons to be released because they have not had a fair trial, because they've been tried by all white juries, and that's just like being tried in Germany being a Jew. Number 8, we want black people, number 9, when brought to trial, to be tried by members of their peers. And a peer being one who comes from the same economic, social, religious, historical, and racial background. If the United States government and the courts and the local courts did this, they would have to choose black people from the black community to sit up on the jury.
Oh, shit.
They'd have to choose some of the mothers who've been working 20 years in Miss Ann's kitchen scrubbing floors like my mother done done. They have to choose some of them hard-working fathers. They have to choose some of those brothers who stand on the block out there wondering where they're going to get a gig. They're going to have to choose these black people. And number 10, he would say, let's just summarize it. We want housing, we want clothing, we want education, we want justice, and we want peace. This is the basic platform. In case you never knew it or not, of all the things that you've heard in the press, of all the derogatory statements that's been made in the press about Brother Huey P. Newton and I, of all these derogatory statements to guide you away from seeing this basic platform that Huey was talking about for his own people. We have to learn to look through the white press. We have to learn to see what's going on. Now, out of this platform, Huey P. Newton realized that it was necessary for us to start working on these points, these 10 points practically. Remember number 7? We want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. This is very, very important. And here, whether you know it or not, is where you start dealing with the black revolution. When Huey says every black man put a shotgun in your home, and once we let the man know, say, look, we armed from block to block, and we're going to patrol you from our windows. And we're not going to have you brutalizing none of our people in the streets. Do you realize what kind of power black people have then? Because you begin to neutralize that police force, because them cops going to start riding shaky and scared. In fact, we're in a position then to demand that they withdraw from our community because they occupy our community just like a foreign troop occupies territory.
All right, we're going to stop it right there. So it don't take too much for us doing the discussion. But with that video, I want to go do a round robin. What's the first thing from that video that you take from it? Floor is open.
Well, the first thing he said was let's put it in simple terms for the people at large to understand what it is and how it relates to them. And I think that was very important in that day as well as in this day. The reason why I selected that video was just to give us some background on establishing the Black agenda in a way that everybody know the major issues that we're dealing with. Now, he dealt with some broad categories, but they're broad enough to cover the most crucial issues of that day. And when I look at the list and I compare it to today, many of the items are still the same. One issue of police brutality, as it was when they wrote this plan at that time, we're still dealing with that same issue. So that is a challenge that we have yet to overcome. It's a challenge that's in our face, but we have not figured out how to remove it. So in creating our Black agenda, I think it's important to look at the past, see what can be checked off the list, if there is such a thing, and go on to the issues or challenges that we face today. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we want to galvanize and articulate the challenges that we face today in 2020.
So what part of the comparing the list from today and comparing the list from then, which ones would you mark off that you think is already been taken care of?
Honestly,
Well,
none of them.
Because the big one for me is police brutality. That's the biggest one.
Yeah. That's a good
Honestly, I don't feel like
question.
none of them have been. I don't feel like any of them have truly been solved. I feel like we still have the same 10-point plan that we're asking from. Like, that's what I felt from. I felt the same frustration and passion that brother was trying to articulate over something as simplistic as human rights. That's basically what you're asking for. The right to be governed and live and exist as a basic human being, and all the rights that are accessible to a human being. Humans can read and write and work and build a life for themselves. That's all the fuck we're asking for. That's all they were asking for. And I felt that's what struck a chord to me more than anything else in that video. Was that same energy is still prevalent today. Like, you could literally have me or somebody verbatim say that same video and it would have the same exact context.
Well,
I think the thing that
Go ahead, Superway.
I think the thing that stood out to me was one, we need to have a common understanding of the basic aims and objectives of what our agenda is that we all understand. I think most people do that. We all want a good education. We all want good health. We want to be able to eat. We want our communities to be free of violence. We already have a basic understanding. The very first of the Black Panther Party 10-point program, the very number one item at the top. So before you get to numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5, the first one is it literally says, we want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our Black and oppressed communities. We believe that Black and oppressed people will not be free until we are able to determine our destinies in our own communities by fully controlling all the institutions which exist in our communities. That's the Black Panther Party point number one. So what he's talking about there is self-determination. He's talking about Black government, right? All institutions. So before we even get to talking about housing and education and police brutality and all that, if we're going to go by Black Panther Party, first thing we got to talk about is, how do we create or develop the capacity to exercise self-determination? And I loved what he said about, you have to know your place in the world. And when he says that, he's talking about the identity, meaning we once knew our place in the world, but once we were brought here as slaves, the very first thing they did was remove our identities. So when he talks about knowing our place in the world and having an educational program for our children to know their place in the world, he's talking about restoring their ancestral lineages so that you can understand your place in the world.
Anybody else got anything to add?
I agree with Sipiwe regarding that. We had to come back to ourselves, so to speak. And once we are recentered and regrounded in who we are, I'm sorry, I had to take these glasses off again. Then we can do a thorough assessment of where we are at and have a vision to project where we want to go. And previous to this plan, we had the Harlem Renaissance. The Harlem Renaissance was very impactful in that it called the artists to raise their voice in their various art forms to do a definition of who the Negro at the time they called African Americans, who was the new Negro. We knew who the old Negroes were, the Bucks, the Mammies, the Mulattoes, the Pickaninnies. We knew who they were or who they had become in this system. So when we got our first voice during the Harlem Renaissance, a call went out to define who and what that new Negro will be. That was the vision. And the artists came together and even detailed down to what the new Negro occupation would be, that he would have a clock on his wall, a piano in his salon at the time. So that was an effort to have some self-determination on this soil. And as historically, we continuously see, we redefine ourselves and refine ourselves with our name from Negro to colored to Afro-American to African American. So these are, as we change our name, the vision of who we are became sharper, became clearer as we fought so many battles and challenges of those particular eras. So here we are again with the advent of the DNA test, which I may say, if anyone did not know, it was created by a Black man. A Black scientist created the actual DNA test that is very popular. So today, with science, we are able to take a swab of our saliva and put it in the system, and voila, it can tell you your lineage, your heritage. So we are at a pivotal point where we can refine who we have defined ourselves as in this nation.
Anybody got anything else to add before we hit to Sipiwe's plan?
Not me.
All right. Okay. So let me go ahead and pull up Sipiwe's plan. Yes, Teach. Go ahead, Teach.
I did have one point when I said that to see what could be crossed off the list. Maybe not crossed off the list, but I think housing, we can put a check mark by it. Because at the time of the Black Panther Party, they were living in segregation. We have desegregated, and we can virtually live where we want to live. We may not always get the best interest on the mortgage or loan on the house that we want, but we can pretty much live where we want to live, wherever our dollars can take us. So that was one, I could say, a check mark. Maybe not 100% to everybody's liking, but as a citizen, I feel free to live anywhere in the United States that I want. So I think that's progress.
as long as it's not a sundown town, because they still exist.
Right. That's why I said
Also,
check mark.
Yeah, I got you. I was just messing with you.
I don't think that that's what the Black Panther Party meant by housing is not the ability if you can afford it. All the statistics say that since 2012, Black home ownership has declined. I think that when it comes to housing, the metric we're looking for is not do you have the legal right to live anywhere you want, but do you actually own your home? I think that's the important metric. And if we're going to use that as the standard, then we've actually declined.
Okay. So anybody else got a rebut to that, Teach, before we head into this plan?
Yes. Well, my point was simply in terms of desegregation and redlining. There was a point in time, whether you had the money or not, if you were Black, you just could not live in certain areas. So my point is that we have made progress in that degree. That was simply my point. We have made progress there because actually where I live, we've been here 47 years. We integrated this neighborhood. We were actually the first Black people on this particular block. And yesterday, actually, I was coming down the street and I seen some Arabic people moving in, and down the street the other way, there were some other Caucasian people moving in. And I said, wow, I'm experiencing the reversal of the white flight that I experienced 47 years ago. So now they're coming back in and reclaiming their space or reclaiming a space in this neighborhood. They're mixing it all up. You
looking at them like they looked at you. Who this different color moving in my neighborhood?
Exactly.
You look different. Why you here? I just got used to the light skinned nigga that stay 2 houses up. Now you move.
Like who are they? But other than that, let's go ahead and get into Sipaway's plan. So I'm going ahead and bring it up on the screen as you saw what I was doing. So Sipaway, go ahead, direct me. The floor is yours.
All right. Okay, let's start. First of all, if you could scroll down just a little bit to where we start talking about the money. Let me just talk about the scale of the plan. If you keep scrolling a little bit more, keep scrolling, right? The plan, there you go.
Okay.
Right there. Go right there. Mm-hmm. This plan is broken up into 6 agenda items, and each agenda item has a specific price tag. Agenda item 1 deals with the what Bobby Seale just said, know your place in the world. It deals with our mental health. It deals with our identity. It deals with our spirituality. The agenda item 1 is called lineage restoration. And there's an actual workers project based on the previous workers project that we had in the 1930s. The price tag for agenda item 1 would be 1.1 trillion. Agenda item 2 is the organizational component, how we actually organize ourselves as a community. The price tag on that is 450 million. Agenda item 3 is starting to deal with the land issue. It's the National Heritage Area. The price tag for that is $1.1 billion, 1.125. Agenda item 4 is dealing with our status in government, which is tribal autonomy. That's $45 million is the cost for that. Agenda item 5 is dealing with repatriation, which has to do with the justice from the original crime, which was taking us from our homeland. And it also has to do with the whole Pan-African agenda or ideal, which means that there's strength in numbers. So as Malcolm said, when he was at the African Organization of African Unity, Africa's problems are our problems and our problems are Africa's problems. so the repatriation component, 5 trillion, and then agenda item 6, the main part that most Black people are concerned with these days, as evidenced by the reparations movement, as evidenced by the ADOS movement, is reparations to reduce the racial wealth gap. That's 18.8 trillion. Now, so just to show you the grand scale of what we're talking about $25 trillion. Now, for a lot of people, that just seems outrageous. However, if you scroll down significantly, Donnell, keep scrolling down to there's a Forbes picture. Keep going a little bit more. Keep going a little bit more. Right, a little bit more. And oh, wait a minute. Did we miss it? Go back up. I'm sorry. Go back up. There's a screenshot of a Forbes article. Keep going up.
Okay.
Keep going up. A little bit more.
Okay.
We'll find it. It should be, maybe you don't have the most updated version because it's right after, it's in agenda item 4. And it's right after.
Okay. I got you. Agenda item 4. Let me see. Okay. So tribal,
under the tribal autonomy, there's a map of the United States showing.
Oh, right here.
Right there. Now scroll down a little bit more. Yeah, you don't have the most up-to-date version. Okay. The most up-to-date version right under this map shows a screenshot of Forbes magazine. I'll just read it to you. It just says, okay. It just says that there's an article dated July 23rd, 2012 that says the super rich hide $21 trillion in offshore accounts. Okay, so we can scroll back up to where we were looking at those numbers. The reason why I wanted to start with that is because for Black economists that have studied this and people in the reparations movement that have studied this, one of the things that we've learned is most of our people do not really have a good idea of, one, how much money is in the economy and how much money it would actually take to fulfill all the things we want: education, housing, employment, and all of that. So I have to put that out there. When I say that this plan would cost $25 trillion, and people are like, well, that's insane, that's impossible, we could never have the money to do that. Forbes magazine just showed you that the super wealthy have $21 trillion in offshore accounts. So the first thing I have to do is just kill the idea that there isn't $25 trillion available for us. There is. We just saw with the pandemic that when the white supremacists in power, when they want to, they will come up with and distribute $3 trillion and give it to people and businesses. So we have to get over this idea and don't sell ourselves short. When you see in, for example, Trump's plan, when he's talking about $500 billion, that's a slap in the face. That's like if you have $100 in your pocket, you're saying, I'm going to give 10 cents to you. I have $100 in my pocket, but I'm going to give you 10 cents. So we've got to first understand the scale. Okay. So I just wanted to start with that. Maybe you guys can ask questions. I'm not sure where there's one other thing we should start with. If you scroll back up into the, I outlined that the foundation for this agenda for Black America's restoration and self-determination, the foundation for it comes from the conclusions made by William Darity Jr., And for those who are not familiar with William Darity Jr., he is the Samuel Du Bois Cook Distinguished Professor of Public Policy. So when we ask for who are the experts who have studied this from our own community, we're talking about the Black public. So he's the Distinguished Professor of Public Policy. He's a professor in the Sanford School of Public Policy, professor of African and African American Studies, professor of economics, affiliate of the Duke Initiative for Science and Society, and affiliate of the Center for Child and Family Planning. So if you want someone sitting on the table who's qualified to really discuss this, this is him, and his team is who you want at the table. And they filed a report in April 2018 called What We Get Wrong About Closing the Racial Wealth Gap. Okay. And he said there's no agenda or no contract can be based on the following myths. Myth number one, greater educational attainment or more work effort on the part of Blacks will close the racial wealth gap. That's a myth. So anything that's talking specifically about getting greater educational opportunities is not going to close the racial wealth gap. And before I get into, hold on, one more thing. Scroll all the way down towards almost the bottom to the graphic that shows the racial wealth gap. Right, just so everybody can visually see. Go. You're at the bottom now. Go up a little bit. It's just before agenda item 6. Keep going up a little bit more. There, right there. This is what this right here. If you want to make it simple, this right here is the problem. Why is it since 1989, no matter who we vote for, no matter who's in control, Democrats or Republicans, the wealth of the Black community has stayed stagnant since 1989. And the wealth of the white community has increased from $25 trillion to nearly $110 trillion. So while Black people have made no progress, white people have made astronomical 4 times the progress. The average Black person in America who doesn't have a college degree, who is waking up every morning, having to go to a dead-end job, making $10, $12, $15 an hour, working at McDonald's or working for the census or something like that, the average Black person that is working understands that for all their 40 hours of work, they can't live a life that has financial security and has the same kind of benefits that white people have. That's the fundamental frustration. And this is showing what it is. Okay. That's what this plan is trying to correct. That's what all plans should be trying to correct. Now, if we go back up to the top where we go to those myths again, any plan that's based on increasing education, right? We've already studied this. That's not going to close the racial wealth gap. Any plan that's based on increasing racial home ownership, that's not going to decrease the racial wealth gap. Any plan that's based on buying Black and Black banking, not going to do it. Okay. Any plan that's based on trying to help Black people save more is not going to close the racial wealth gap. Any plan that's based on increasing financial literacy doesn't close the racial wealth gap. Any plan that's based on incentives for Black entrepreneurship does not close the racial wealth gap. Any plan that's myth number 7, that's based on emulating successful minorities, particularly the celebrity, right? Meaning try to become a Michael Jordan, try to become a Cardi B, whatever. That's not going to reduce the racial wealth gap. Myth number 8, any plan that's based on improved soft skills and personal responsibility is not going to resolve the racial wealth gap. Myth number 9, any plan that's based on trying to get more Black celebrities to and get them to take responsibility is not going to include the racial wealth gap. And then myth number 10, that somehow our disorganized and so-called dysfunctional families is the cause of the racial wealth gap. So right off the bat, whether it's Ice Cube's plan, whether it's Joe Biden's Lift Every Voice plan, whether it's Trump's plan, if you look at the actual policies in their plan, they're all based on these myths. So none of those are going to provide what Bobby Seale was talking about in the Black Panther Party point number 1, which is self-determination. So we have to come up with a plan or agenda that's not based on these things. It can fulfill these things, but it's not based on these things. And that's what this agenda for Black America's restoration and self-determination is based off of. It's based off of reverse engineering the problem. The problem was we were taken captive. We were put through what is called dehumanization manufacturing process. It took place in a controlled environment. The controlled environment was American racist society that was set up by laws that controlled the environment. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that, right? It was controlled. And the effect of that was to produce subhuman service, which is what we're still doing today. Meaning you have to wake up, you have to spend 20, 30, 40 hours a week working at a job that doesn't pay you enough to really survive in this system. So that is before we get into any specifics, that is the foundation of the agenda for Black America's restoration and self-determination. It's informed by these things to make sure that we don't continue to make the same mistakes that we've been making since the 1960s.
Okay. All right, Tish, you had a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tish.
I'm looking at the graph, and where it says white household wealth is 20 times that of Black and Hispanics. So do we have the percentages of that white wealth? Do we have the percentages of the Black poverty?
Yes.
And the reason, let's hear the percentages of how many of these whites are at this $100 trillion. How many white people are there?
Okay, so for example, the 400 richest Americans have $2.34 trillion. Okay, so of that,
how many Americans did you say?
400.
400. Okay, 400. All right, 400 people.
Okay.
Yep. For the 400 richest people in America have 2.34 trillion, right? 60 million people in America have 2.17 trillion. So basically 400 people have more wealth in America than 60 million people.
Okay, and then what is the average income for an American?
Okay, so that is going to depend upon race. Okay, so for example, not all of this is on the screen to show it, but I have them in front of me right now. So for example, if you look at the Black community, and I'm not sure I'm going to answer your question right now, but I'm not sure if I understand your question, but
let me explain my question.
Okay, explain your question, and then I can answer
what I'm attempting to get at is this: given charts, graphs, percentages, statistics, numbers, and the way this graph looks, the way I could read it, I'm not an expert at reading graphs, but just blue, the red and the purple lines, if the word white pertains to the whole entire Caucasian race, it looks like the whole entire Caucasian race has $100 trillion, and then the Black and Hispanic race, they're start out as $0. So I see this graph as very faulty and is manipulative, because you just told me that only 400 people have those trillions of dollars in wealth.
All right, so
so those 400 people compared to the 47 million people. Yeah.
No,
yeah, explain it. I
misunderstand.
Yeah.
You misunderstand the graph. So, for example, roughly speaking, there are 385 million Americans. 385, of which, roughly speaking, and this is arguable, there's 47 million African Americans. Okay. So this $110 trillion of wealth by white Americans, of that $110 trillion of wealth, let's just say 100, right? 2% of that comes from just these 400 families that have $2 trillion of wealth. That's all.
Is it 400 people or 400 families?
Excuse me. It's 400. It's 400 families, I guess. 400 households.
Okay.
Because that takes into account the numbers too. Like 400 people stated earlier. Okay, because I'm thinking in my head roughly just shy of 60 million people control over $1 trillion worth of assets in America, according to those statistics and those numbers that you just gave. So to say households, it kind of spaces out the numbers a little bit more. And, you know, like T said, to someone that's not astute or very knowledgeable or that's very understanding of graphs, they'll just read it from the basic level. They might perceive it like that. Like if this, they'll say to themselves, if this is supposed to represent all, you know, the generality of white, Black, Latino. Okay, according to this, white people in general got over $100 trillion.
Yep. I mean, it's real simple, right? Basically, we don't have to overthink it. It's showing you right there. White people have
no. But then that goes back to what teachers asked earlier. And when you stated that 400 people control, you said 2.1 or
2.3 trillion.
Yeah, 2 point something trillion dollars, and then it was another 60 million collectively, 1 trillion.
2.1
one and some change trillion between the 60 million. Then
2.1
when you
trillion.
go back again, yes, then you say it was 400 families. That's why I just said, just so we get a better understanding of how this, because 400 families, that's a lot more understandable. You got the Rothschilds and all the well-named businesses out there that are rich families. I understand it from that way.
The data that I'm looking at, the way it's labeled, it says the 400 richest Americans. Okay. Whether it's individuals or families, the point is that 400 units, right, have more than 60 million. That's a problem. That is what you call economic, right, disparity. That is an injustice, because the basic thing is there is no work that you can do as a human being in 24 hours that can produce that amount of wealth. Meaning, let's take picking cotton, for example. No human being can pick enough cotton, right, in one day or one season to produce $1 billion worth of wealth. So
it's not the product. It's the product placement and the product value. That's how you can get $1 billion in a day. Because you're saying like nobody could do it, and I'm like, nah, I've seen many
Cotton
Americans
was king.
lead,
But picking cotton did make
and
America the
I
richest
know
nation in the
several.
world.
You know, I know
Hey,
of several
if
individuals
you guys are
who
cool,
have
hey, if
made
you
it.
guys are cool with 400 people having more wealth than 60 million people, then okay, you're cool with it.
It's
right?
not a matter of being
No,
cool with it. It's a matter of
it's
just
right.
understanding that there will always be an imbalance, and that is part of the balance of life.
And so
somebody's going to be rich, somebody's going to be poor.
So let me go
everybody else is going to fit somewhere else in the middle. My goal as a human being, as a Black man, given the situation I'm in, is to try to stay as high up as possible. And stay, in the higher range. I may get to the top. I'll shoot for the top, but as long as I stay somewhere in the mid-card level,
middle class.
If we think about like wrestling, I just want to be like the first string bench. Like all I need is like 2 to 5 good minutes on the court under every other quarter, every 5 games. Like I'm cool with that. I don't need to ball out every game.
Understood.
I want to. But if given the opportunity,
Right.
This is not.
Now, I know that for me though.
I don't think the aspiration is that you want to be one of the 400 richest Americans. What we're saying is that the aspiration.
Here's another thing too. You understand too about the aspiration. It goes back to self-preservation. And I always say, how dirty you want to get your hands? Do you know how they got that money? It was not clean. It was far from Christian.
Okay.
All right.
Let's any racist thing.
I think we're moving away from
Let's see what's
important, which is
let's go ahead, direct it.
The 60 million people, the 60 million of us who all want to have decent lives of human dignity, right? If in order to do that, right, means that the 60 million of us need a certain amount of the piece of the pie, okay, we can all have the decent life if the pie, right, is shared in some sort of equitable manner. Right now, right, me and you and Teach, there's 4 of us on the screen right now. So let's say Donnell, we have the pie, and Donnell has 99.9% of the pie. We're not even going to get into how he got the 99. We just admit that he has it. Now, for the rest of us, if the rest of us need at least 10 units of that pie to have a decent life, then because of the reality, we can't. Because Donnell has 99.9% of the pie. So we have to understand, how did that happen? Going back to what the clip that Teach showed us, right? Which is, we gotta have an agenda that's basic and simplified for the people. Yes, we do. So let's talk about, let's say the simple thing is we all want good heart health. Okay, we can all understand that. We want good, healthy hearts. But if we don't have people that understand the science of nutrition and what your heart needs to be healthy, and if we don't have people with the advanced knowledge to perform open heart surgery, if you need open heart surgery, are you going to go to the guy who all he has is a basic understanding that you need a healthy heart? Or are you going to go to the person that can actually break down how the heart functions, how to perform the open heart surgery, right? So having a simple agenda, right, that we can all understand is necessary. But behind that, you got to have the people, right, who have the advanced understanding. There is a system that is producing the racial wealth and health gap. And as I showed in that very first that graph that we're looking at, right, if the black community wants to have good housing, good education, a dignified life. That can't happen in a system where 99% of the resources are owned and controlled by the blue line, the white folks, or the establishment, because it's not just white people now, right? But we'll just call it this blue line, and everybody else is down near the bottom. That is the fundamental systematic change that an agenda needs to address.
Okay.
Now, if I may say something.
Yeah,
Okay,
I was about to let you come in, then I'm about to put my thought in.
We went like 20 different ways away from where I wanted to interject.
Okay.
The point that I was driving about this graph and this chart, for me, it is simply manipulation. It, at a glance, it tells you all whites are rich and everybody else is poor. And that is the white supremacist agenda. Every graph, every chart they ever come out with is always going to show them in the lead and everybody else in behind. And when you look into the white supremacy theories, that is one of them. Manipulate the world, make everybody think that we are supreme, we are, everybody else is inferior. And when we create this wealth, then we also create envy to make other people feel that whatever income level that they are at, that they cannot enjoy life. They cannot enjoy life. So we are the envy of the people of the world. We are the richest people in the world. We have the finest things in the world. We own everything in the world. And therefore, everybody else must be miserable. That's just capitalism 101. And that's why I say that this graph is faulty, because at a glance, it gives you the illusion. Right. Now, you go down into the South, you can find some poor white folks, and I'm telling you, they would not be up there at the top of that $1 trillion thing.
Yeah, that's not what the graph is saying.
That's why I'm saying it's not a good graph. It's not a good graph.
Let me jump on in.
One tool in the toolkit.
Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and jump on in. So I just want to get like to the brass tacks of what do we need to do. No matter if you agree with the chart or not, I understand what Seepaway. I understand where you was getting at, Seepaway. So what can we do to close this wealth gap? Like, let's just go ahead and like get to the, brass tacks. What should we be doing right now? And also, ladies and gentlemen, understand this. All this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. But what should we be doing right now that at least we're going into the right directions, taking the right steps to closing that gap?
Okay, so if you're asking me, this is
yeah, I'm asking you.
Yeah, this is exactly what the plan addresses. The first step is, right, you have to restore our identity and then organize our community along our identity, so that we can have what's called a Grand Lineage Restoration Council. Basically, to be able to have a vehicle that can speak for the very diverse community that we are, right? Once you have the vehicle that can speak for the diverse community, and once we understand that the fundamental reason for our condition has to do with the fact that we have been put in controlled environments that were designed to dehumanize us. So what we have to do is somehow establish controlled communities that are geared to rehumanizing us. Okay. And this is where we get into, unfortunately, it's not a simple thing, right? The dehumanizing process that put us in the position that we're in now, and whether we agree with the graph or not, all we have to do is you can go to all of these communities and you can see the standards of living in the white communities versus the majority of Black communities, even though there's exceptions. Somehow, to put it real simply, there has to be a transfer of resources. Okay. If we have to understand there has to be a transfer of resources. Now, the only way that that's going to happen is A, voluntarily through negotiations, or B, through superior compelling force. And right now, we aren't in a position to negotiate it because we're not clear about it. This is why you have to have a Black America's restoration and self-determination agenda, is because first we've got to become clear about what it is that we need to reach the level that we have determined for ourselves. And that has to be based on not what are the political realities or limitations right now. That kind of analysis has to be done independent of that. We have to take an honest assessment to say, what is our condition? How did we get into it? And what is the condition we need to be in? Once we answer that, then we know, okay, this is what we need. And now we can sit at the table and negotiate. But if we sit at the table and we don't have the strength of numbers because we don't have an effective vehicle, right, then we won't be in a position of strength to negotiate. And if they say no, which is probably what's going to happen, then the question is what's our or else? How do we develop the compelling force to exercise our will over the will of our opponents? That's what this plan goes into detail to address, to say, okay, this is what healing, comprehensive, holistic healing is going to require. So at least we know what it is we need to be negotiating for.
Okay. Thank you for that, Sipaway. Just to let everybody know who's watching the show or who watched later after the fact, all these plans that we're going to talk about, including Sipaway's plan, is going to be posted on our Facebook page. So just in case, like I said, if you missed the live part of the show, it's going to be posted on our Facebook page so you can look and you can decide for yourself. So Sipaway, thank you for giving us the insight to your plan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So anybody else got any things to say before we jump into the next plan?
I
do real
okay.
quick.
All right.
Answer his.
So Bishan, yeah. Bishan, you first, and then Teach.
Just to answer the or else, we have an or else. We've discussed it to different levels and different variations over the decades and years. It's just a real question of how dirty you want to get your hands. Because if you're a true American and know what America is all about, it's about doing some really dirty, ungodly things in order to live a godly life. So transcending take the same mentality. If we want this, we can get it. But some of us are definitely going to have to come back with dirty hands. We're going to take some long showers to clean that type of dirt off. But it can get done. It's just that's a conversation that we can't really put into words and put on paper without clear confirmation. Once we have confirmations on certain avenues and facets of that agenda, then we can truly start to orchestrate that dialogue and that type of conversation. Because that's a conversation that's more of a and B. You will do it because we got the ORS already set up.
Agreed. And I hope that instead of picking apart one graph or something like that, I hope that people will actually read the agenda, right, and make substantive comments about the substance of the agenda. We need feedback on it, but it requires people to actually read the whole thing and digest it.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's understandable.
I would like to say money is a tool to utilize for goods and services. And it does not sit well with me to look at other people to see what they have, to see I have less. I think what's missing is the notion of, excuse me.
Teach, have you read the agenda?
Hold on a second. Okay. My phone is ringing. I'm trying to hang it up. I'm sorry. But my point is this. We don't have to want better for ourselves because what somebody else is doing. I don't have to say, oh, there's 400 people that have $1 trillion in order for me to do better. For me, that takes the focus off of what I need to do for myself.
Yeah, I that's not what we're saying. Have you read the plan?
I have breezed through it.
Okay.
And this is
breezed
the
through
point.
it, but
I breezed through it. I breezed through it, and this is what concerns me of what I have read. The whole energy of they have more, I have less. I have to look at them in envy instead of just looking and doing what I need to do for myself and for my family to create the life.
No, you miscarried. Nobody's looking at them with
to create
envy.
the life
you didn't read
that
the
I
plan.
want for myself.
You didn't read the plan.
No, that's a flaw in the plan.
Okay.
That's a flaw.
Okay.
Okay.
Comment on the
plan. Let me just step on in. Let me just step on in. So we're not going to agree on everybody's plan. So let's go ahead and throw that out there.
I was going to say that. I was going to say just simply what Teach did is what honestly most people would do, especially when you asked about the insight and critique. The average individual will at best breeze through it, and the main things to kind of pick apart, like she did what a normal person would have done in any situation. But because she actually knew you intimately, she had the advantage of saying, hey, what I did read and what did catch my eye and my attention, I can bring to his attention and question him about it, knowing good and well, most likely I'm gonna go back reading it again, because if something caught your attention, you're gonna go back in depth just to make sure you read what you read.
Well, let me reassure you, Teach, we're not envying them, and the plan is not based on looking at somebody else. Again, the title of the plan is a Black Agenda for Self-Determination. And as I said in the very beginning, the foundation of the plan is determining what do we need independent of any politics in the United States or any person or institution outside of us. So I think I was real clear on that. It is saying this is what is determined for ourselves what we need. We use the graphs and the data and the statistics to back up the evidence to say, here is the evidence that there is a fundamental injustice that exists in the world that we are accepting the challenge to overcome. Here is our plan to overcome it, and these are the requirements. in the same way that if you want to bake a cake, you got to have eggs, you got to have flour, you got to have an oven, you got to have, that capacity if you want a cake.
Okay.
But you have to determine that you want the cake first. So
Okay.
the cake
All
that
right.
we want
Okay.
is to be the cake that we want, as expressed by point number 1 of the Black Panther Party platform, is we want the ability to have complete control over our own institutions.
Okay, see, wait, I'm gonna have to cut short because we got to get to her plan too. So the plan that she put up too. So once again, we're not going to agree with certain parts of the plan, but like I said earlier, everybody's plan is going to be posted on our page, and they will decide, and they will take a look and see how they feel about it. So this is, like I said, I'm happy that everybody's engaging in all that good stuff. So, but now let's go ahead and jump into the plan that Teach put up, and Teach, go ahead and take the lead.
Well, it's not my plan. I didn't.
I mean, but you know what I mean. It's like this is something that you sent to me, so I admit to say you was like the architect. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, basically, this was the Black Agenda 2020 group got together and did a census and polling African Americans on the things that most affect them. And in brief, if you would scroll down to page number 3. And I believe that their focus is away from themselves. Their focus is on what they want the government to do. So that's my first critique, because I believe in self-responsibility. So their first point concerning the economy is to make Black people powerful by removing policies that lock us out of good jobs and investing in the health and wealth of our community. And then the next point is to make Black people powerful.
I think Teach froze. Teach, can you hear me? Can you hear us? I think she said something that she shouldn't have. Hey, B-Shots, can you hear me? Check 1, 2.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, apologies about that. So let's go ahead and continue to look at it. I think she was hitting up on the third part, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the third part, what she was talking about, was to make Black people powerful in our democracy, as you see right there, by confronting those who conspire to steal our votes and finally build a democracy that is promised to us all. So as you can check out, they also talk about the communities, family, legal system. I'm gonna give y'all time to go in here and look at that. So hopefully she can come back on. But we could just gonna keep it going with the fellas. So hopefully she can come back on and just explain it. So just seeing the points of this plan, what's the first thing that comes to your minds? Let me go ahead and put it on the bigger screen so y'all can see it. And also everybody else can see it as well.
I mean, change up a couple words here and there, and most of the plans that are being projected are basically the same, because we're all asking for the same basic things.
Yes.
We're understanding that you got to clean up and dress it up and make it presentable. So you can't use this word over this word, and you got to make it sound as pleasing to another person's ear as possible.
Okay.
So that's like the first thing that stands out to me.
All right. So T, she's back. So T, just hold on real quick. We actually going through and giving our thoughts on the first glance of it. So just stand by real quick. So Sipwe, go ahead and give your take.
I I agree. Kind of what Beast said is what's called as the politics of presentation, and a lot of our best political scientists have lamented that we have unfortunately been too involved and concerned with the politics of presentation instead of being involved in the politics of policies. It's not so much the presentation that is the substance or what matters. It's the fine understanding of the policies that we need to be debating. It's not the what, because we pretty much agree on the what. We all want more Black powerful. We want to make Black people powerful. Of course, who's not going to want to agree with that if you're Black? We want more Black people powerful in our, society. All of those, the presentation, yeah, we all agree on that. But we don't spend enough time discussing the policies, the how, the mechanisms for achieving that. And that's where our political focus should be.
Okay. All right, Teach, going ahead. Let me go ahead and put you back on after your technical difficulties. We were basically just skimming through the main points that you were saying, and you stopped at the third point. So
yeah, I was just browsing the internet to see who and what had been working on the Black agenda, and when you get down to I guess this would be the fifth point: make Black people powerful in our families. I mean, seriously, what does this mean? They say by challenging the policies and practices that leave us living sick and dying younger and delivering the care we need to live long and live well. They totally missed the point. They totally missed the point. Yes, we want to live longer, but what about the family? What is the constitution of the family? The family, well, the old definition of family is man and woman joining together and bringing forth children to build an institute. Now we have these new definitions of family, extended family, but they're not really talking about the family here. They're talking about health care and longevity and mortality, but not family. So as I breeze through this, collectively, what I'm getting is we can hit a mark, but we miss a mark. Seepaway's plan is a very detailed plan, well laid out. This plan is based upon a survey that was taken. And these may, it may be a summary of what the people have talked about, but it's one big major block that's missing. When they talk about family, they're not talking about strengthening the relationship between that man and woman. And this is what the Monahan report that was published in 1964 stated was the problem of Black America, is that they had a dysfunctional family. And as Seepaway said in his report, that is not going to be, it was a myth that the Black family was dysfunctional. And that's why they haven't participated in closing that wealth gap. But I would beg to differ. If you have a strong family, strong household with multiple incomes, you can't help but close that wealth gap. If not family by family or household by household. So I don't think that's a myth. I think that is workable. I think it is doable. in the
Okay.
Black household. The next one where it says make Black people powerful in the legal system by ending the use of incarceration to solve the problems of migration, poverty, disinvestment, and returning millions of us back to our families and communities. And this goes, back to the 13th Amendment, where they're utilizing our Black men and women and youth as a way to take them out of society by giving them longer sentences, sometimes trumped up sentences, sometimes being incarcerated for things that they're not even guilty of. And historically, we had convict leasing. Convict leasing was one of the very first temporary work programs that earned money for the states. And once one state, Alabama, started convict leasing, putting the Black men in jail, taking them out of society, that takes away earning potential for the family, but it gives earning potential to the state. So our legal system is corrupt, and injustices on top of injustices are served throughout the legal system. So the legal system is the same issue or point that the Black Panthers listed in their 10-point program.
And I would just like to say, for example, the one way to address this, which is how I addressed it in the Black Agenda for Restoration, is right. Tribal autonomy, which is currently achieved already, right? And this is what if you could put that back up there, I already showed there are 566 federally recognized American Indian and Alaskan Native tribes with 326 Indian land areas that have what's called tribal autonomy, meaning they have the ability to create their own legal system. The simplest solution to the problem that Teach just correctly identified, which is the corrupt legal system, is to remove ourselves from it and establish tribal autonomy. Now, how do we do that? Tribal autonomy is based on genetics. It's, again, you have 566 federally recognized American Indian Native tribes, meaning there are 566 groups that share the same genetic profile. So because of genetic testing, which Teach already mentioned early on, if we would utilize that tool and organize ourselves according to our ethnic or our genetic tribes, then we could also have tribal autonomy and land areas. The only reason why we don't have that is because we've never pursued it, because it has never been part of any Black agenda, because all of our Black agendas are based on integrating into America instead of exiting America to try to set up our own self-determined systems. So that was addressed in my plan. Not only identifying what it needs to, that we need to be aiming for, but how to actually achieve it and what it will cost us to be able to do it. So I agree with you.
You're suggesting that we should be like the American Indians and create a reservation?
What I'm suggesting is I agree with you. We have a legal system that is corrupt, right? And so therefore we have two alternatives. One alternative is to reform the system from within, and the other alternative is to exit that system. And guess what? We can do both. We can pursue both simultaneously. But right now, we don't really have any energy pursuing the fact that we can organize the Black community along tribal lines, have a united tribal front, and yes, we can then do the same thing and negotiate. Here are our land areas on places where we already live, and here we can sign the treaties, and with those treaties, basically establish autonomy, meaning we have to create, if we're going to reverse engineer the process that put us in this condition, how are we going to create controlled environments that are conducive to the rehumanization process?
But see, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that won't happen when you have a corrupt legal system that we don't control.
Okay.
So what the Black Agenda for Restoration plan is saying is the thing that we should be pursuing is setting up controlled environments that have autonomy, which then puts up a shield, a barrier saying your legal system can't negatively sabotage or prevent us from the rehumanization process.
Okay, go ahead, teach.
I just want to know, have you gotten any feedback on that one item? And what is the feedback?
The feedback is, wow, Sipiwe, from the vast majority of people, I never thought of this. Nobody ever broke it down like this. This is the first time I've heard that. Man, that sounds like reasonable. Why is it that 566 tribes can get it, but we can't? And the answer is because right now we don't have a critical mass of people who share this vision to go and pursue it. So what we have to do. Do
you have an idea why they would not want to pursue it?
Do I have an idea of why who wouldn't want to pursue it?
When people first
you may have presented the idea to.
People you have presented the plan to.
No, the most people that I've talked to, it's not that they don't want to pursue it. It's that this is the first time they've ever heard of it. They've never seen it broken down. They've never.
Okay.
They've never. It's new to them. So it's not that they don't want to pursue it. It's just they haven't got caught up in the understanding so that they can sufficiently see the path towards success. So it's an education process at this point. You have to educate
I
people.
get you.
Yeah.
But for me, things that raise red flags are buzzwords. Contained. What was the other word you used?
I used the word controlled environment.
Controlled environment. Controlled environment.
Where that comes from is from studying what was the process that put us in our condition. And it was a
I understand that.
Yeah. So we want to reverse engineer that, meaning we need to be in a controlled environment, but we have to have the control of it. And
that's another red flag. Is it the word or the
concept? Is it the word or the concept?
Both.
We can change the word, but again, the Black
and the reason why just those few words says not free. It totally turns around what I have in my mind as freedom.
So basically, if let's say somebody who just heard about this plan, I'm just paraphrasing what Cheech is saying. So basically, somebody who is not too hip to what you're saying, they hearing this and they hear those buzzwords, they're like, "Whoa, I might as well just say what I'm doing right now." Is that basically it, Cheech?
Yeah, because I understand what he's saying. That controlled environment, you want the next generation to be free thinking, but to get them free, you have to
change the wording,
contain them. It
I didn't say,
sounds.
no, I'm not saying containment. I didn't use that word. What I'm saying is, the average person on the street, I would ask them this: would you you right now you live in a system that controls you. Okay, you live in a system that controls you, that dictates to you. Oh, if you want to drive a car, you got to have a license. You got to have this insurance. If you want to work, you got to have the Social Security card. If you want to travel, you live in it. You're already controlled. The question is, do you want the current people that control you to control you, or do you want to have the control yourself?
But it doesn't sound like you would be going into a situation that you would have control yourself. You're going into a situation with a group of people with a mind thought to give you another measure of controls, like you're switching one level of control for another level of control.
That's exactly
and so
what.
it doesn't sound inviting. It doesn't sound inviting.
But also as well, it's more the thought process of when you think about it, like, okay, I want that. And then you think about, well, who really has true independence in the world? What nation? There's only one nation that's publicly known, and that's because they kill everybody else on sight. So you don't get an opportunity to know about them. The only reason we know about them is because the camera survived. I ain't say the cameraman. I'm not so sure. But the camera survived, so we know they exist. But if you get within striking distance, and they got pretty good arms. So unless we're going to live like that, it's like, how feasible is it to say we're going to be independent? And then you really think on the global scale, what nation is truly independent? Every nation cooperates and works with other nations to some degree and level of severity. And then you have organizations that are set up to allow certain rules to apply, that'll help ease tensions, and help transition a lot lot of things. So it's like you go back to the point.
When
you say independent, you're saying,
no,
we didn't say
independent. In fact, if you read the thing, we don't use the word we talk about autonomy. That's when you ask about feasibility. This is why we use the reference to say we're not talking about something that we have to create. Like Teach said, we don't have to recreate the wheel. What we're saying is right now there are 566 groups of people in America that have a territory, land, and have what is called autonomy, meaning I'll take it to the street. Hey, bro, would you like to have a community that you control where you can smoke weed? Or do you want to continue to be living in a community where they can come into your community, put you up against the wall, 3 strikes and you're out, all of that stuff? The brother on the street, no, I want to be in a community where I can smoke weed, and that's okay. Well, in order to do that, right?
That's wrong individual to approach that to, and that mentality. Better way to do this. Hey, would you like to live in the community, or better yet, have somewhat like either full control or have a say in the community, that if something happened there, you ain't got to worry about the police popping up because it's your community. Y'all got your own thing. That'll catch that nigga ear real quick, like, so I can smoke my own weed and
exactly.
If y'all get in a drunken fight, we got our own. The community got its own police.
That's what the plan says. And again,
but that's how you bring it to him. Like,
no, hold on.
That's how you got him real quick.
Beast, I respect your point. This is why we need people like you. Scholars or the analytics or the strategists may not have the street speak that you're talking about, but that doesn't mean that they haven't effectively worked it out. What we need are then translators. Like, if you can understand what I'm saying and you also understand the mentality on the street, we need you. It's not for me to learn the new language. It's for you to do what you already can do, which is translate. Everybody's got their role. One person can't do the whole thing. But going to the fundamental point, the great point that Teach brought up is that she said on the previous program that we have programs out there that she had an experience with where our community was not seizing the opportunity to use the programs that are already there. On a collective level, there's a program already here in America that none of our communities, except with the exception of Gullah Geechee people, are utilizing. And so it's on us, those that know, to try to spread the vision to say, here's how we can set up an environment that is more conducive to your freedom, more conducive to you having less health issues because you don't have the mental stress. You don't have to worry about a police coming in. You don't have to worry about what happened to my cousin, Jacob Blake. Ain't no white man coming in here and shooting you 7 times in the back because you don't want to comply with their authority, right? We can set those communities up right now, and 566 of them have already been set up. Now, if you actually read my plan, I then go into critique why we have to surpass the level of autonomy that already exists on those 326 land areas in the United States, because those land areas have not produced the quality of life necessary for the rehumanization process. Meaning, if you look at those 326 land areas, right, they do not rank in the top 10 of the UN Human Development Index, meaning the quality of life in those areas is not comparable to the top 10 quality, countries when it comes to quality of life. So this model is not a perfect model. We have to surpass the level of autonomy. This is where the agenda item 6, where the reparations comes in, which is it's not enough to just have the national heritage area identified. It's not enough to just have the autonomy. If you don't have the resources to put into those areas so that the quality of life is conducive to the rehumanization process, it won't work. That's why the whole plan as a whole has to be taken into consideration.
All right. So let me go ahead and jump in, because like I said, I'm talking from the simpleton, not, I'm first time hearing this. So I'm taking that position when I'm coming up in here. So as I'm hearing everybody and hearing what you're saying, Sleepaway, hearing what Teach is saying, hearing what Beast is saying, the one word that keeps hitting me is structure. And I'm going to play devil's advocate. Yes, Beast, I'm taking that. Give me that. Devil's advocate. I'm literally gonna make a shirt just say devil's advocate, mine, Beast. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. So with everything you're saying, where the structure of your plan and that everybody don't have to worry about what you went through over there in America and the laws and all that stuff. But what about the people, let's say they don't like the smell of weed, or the people that they so used to having a license? Basically, it have to be a consequences. Like, what are the laws when somebody do something wrong in this community? Because I had to think about that part too. It's good to have a utopia where you can be free to do, not free to do whatever you want, but you don't have to worry about if I'm stepping on the side on somebody's property that they're not going to shoot me. Because then you got to think about those people that like, what about my guns? You worry about somebody who's smoking weed, and then you got people sitting there saying, what about I want to have a Confederate flag. I'm just saying, but like I understand
what you're getting at.
I got you. See what I got you on this one. Because that's where the translators, like we say, myself, as well as the tacticians, that's where they step up. Because to truly move into that utopia, how they say you got to understand your past to know your future. What we have to do is truly understand our past, all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. apply what we need for structure and for benefit to our present and to help fortify us for our future. I mean, everything that the Black Panthers, everything Seaway's talking about, we need to apply it how we appropriately, how we see fit, and how we see the most success and the most efficiency
Now,
to move forward and truly get there.
Beast is hitting on it, and the point that you raised is brilliant. That is the essential question. What we have learned is this: we can't answer. First of all, the agenda is not a legislative agenda. This is what separates my plan from the other plans that you see. The other plans are proposing specific legislation. This plan is saying we can't even come up with the legislation that we need in an environment where we are constantly under attack. First of all, the answer to your question, the laws and the legislation, that's the process we go through once we enter into the controlled environment in which we're protected. Then when we get in there, that's what autonomy and self-determination in government means, which is you and whoever else who are, one, concerned about it, and two, are going to assume responsibility to answer it, will be able to what? Form the organization, the institution, the government department to answer the question. Our agendas are not supposed to be answering those kind of questions yet, because we are this is what epigenetic science is teaching us, right? We are not in an environment where we can properly answer those questions because of the amount of psychic, emotional, spiritual, political, economical assault that we're what they call biosocial pathological, they have a word for it, that we're constantly under that pressure. And so all of our responses that are in the current controlled environment that they control, that is harmful to us, all of our responses to that have been insufficient to produce collective health and wealth for our communities. So that's why the plan says the first thing on the agenda is we've got to create the environment where we can then go through the process of being human beings and answering your question. We can't do that as dehumanized people in a dehumanizing system.
I have a question.
Look like Cheech, you got something. Yeah, I get ready to say you about to have a question. Then after that, then I'm gonna go ahead and say something.
I actually have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to ask this one. Well, two questions. One, are non-DNA based people allowed in this community, this controlled society? Like people that have interracial husband or wives, interracial children.
I was thinking that. I was just thinking
and
that.
Then the second question is, would
that's
the work
for each community to determine?
Would the work be in the community, or can they still maintain jobs a mile down the road in the United States of America?
Okay, so again, great questions. If you look at the model that's already there of the 566 federally recognized American Indian and Alaskan tribes on the 326 land territories, right? Out of the 4 million population that comprises all of those groups, the total population is 4 million. Only 1 million of them actually live in the land territory and are registered with those tribes. So the vast majority of them are still out of those territories, living and working in America. So I think you guys are understanding it's not a strict like confinement. If you want to work for some business that's not within your territory, you're free to do that. There's nothing stopping you, except maybe the business won't hire you, or the United States government puts up some legislation that says that they won't hire you. But that's not how it works.
That's the issue. Then that's something that needs to be taken into consideration as well for those individuals that might feel that way and genuinely want to indulge, but they making good money. They making good money at this job. It may not be a government job, but they're making good money at this job.
There's nothing
And they can afford to move over. But
Yeah.
no,
Have
not
you
in the model.
studied?
Not in the model. But
Have
like you just said, the government could come in, and say something again. So that's something that has to be taken into. Can there be some kind of diplomacy? What's the diplomacy
that's
level?
addressed under agenda item 4, tribal autonomy. That is what is negotiated at that point of the plan, right? You negotiate the tribal autonomy. In order to have the autonomy, you have to sign the treaty. That's what the 566 federally recognized tribes have already done. So why can't, if 566 groups have already done this, why can't we? You sit down, you sign the treaty. Now, according to the model that already exists, right, even though those people have autonomy, they're not considered illegal aliens when they leave their areas. They're not considered foreign nationals or illegal aliens. This is why the plan doesn't talk about independence. That's a completely different thing. So again, right now, I feel like I'm talking to people that now I understand really haven't read and studied the plan. So yes, this is all new to you, right? But
it's not wrong with asking questions,
Everything in the plan means it's all on existing things that exist already. We don't have to ask the government for anything new. We don't have to go through the laborious process, right, of asking for something that the government isn't already doing.
And this is where I have to step in.
And they're doing it for one racial group. And it's a reason why they entered in those treaties with those racial groups. And since those racial groups have been formed, the government have backtracked and taken back that land.
Yeah, the very government that you're voting for. The very government that you're legitimizing.
Right.
So you're already dealing with the government.
But also the very
hear him out, C-Boy.
But also the same government where our own people are not engaging in, because they barely know anything about politics too. So you can't go on that one rep saying, well, this is what the government's doing to you, when we're not even majority of the black community. If you tell them what's the Democrat Republican Party, they say, I see it on the news. That's all they know. Or like the politics that's actually going into their community.
Okay, so for example, right? Tell me, everybody that's on this call, what have you done this year in support of HR 40, the reparations bill?
It's still going through the process.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, what have you done to engage, right, so that process will be successful? How have you the one issue that I think we all can agree on, which is reparations, the number one legislation that is definitively just for us. We are all educated and intelligent people on this right here. Raise your hand and say what it is you specifically have done to help get that legislation passed.
We're not politicians.
Raised awareness.
We are not politicians.
You see,
stayed in my lane and raised awareness.
This is my point.
I have a question. I have another question. You said with these tribal communes that study was done that they're not living at their optimum, and that if the African American community,
the nomenclature is tribal land areas. They're not communes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Tribal land areas. Okay. If you read this study and the study says that they're not living their best life according to these graphs and charts, and you said there's 4 million people, but of that 4 million, only 1 million of those said people are living there. That's 1/4. Mm-hmm. And then you said that if African Americans took part in this, we would have to exceed what they're doing. I just see a lot of red flags in that. And what I mean is this: if it was so great and they really loved it, they would be there. But only 1/4 of the people, 1 out of every 4 people of that tribe live there. So something
What's your question?
is pulling. My question is, going back to my original statement at the top of this argument, is defining the quality of life based upon someone else's trajectory. Because you
I still don't
said
hear the question.
that if we,
I still don't hear the question. What-
okay,
You said you
My
had a question. So I'm listening for the
question
question.
okay, my question is, how can I
Dang,
say
just left
this?
the mind. Go let
No,
out,
it didn't leave my mind. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be polite.
Me too.
That's what it is.
Look, nobody
I'm
said
trying to
that-
be polite.
I never claimed that this is utopia, and I never said it was going to be easy. And when you just brought up a great
No,
point, which is the quality of life, and right now we know for a fact that within the system that we are in right now, we already have the lowest quality of life in America. You're already
see,
in.
that's where I disagree. That's where I disagree.
You can listen. You can disagree, and you can have an opinion, but that doesn't. That makes you kind of like the climate change deniers and the Trump supporters, right? Who have their alternative facts and worlds, because the consensus among intelligent Black people is there is really a health gap. We die disproportionately from COVID. Okay, I know for
And
a
there's
fact,
reasons.
my profession
And
is,
there's reasons.
Okay.
and I know
Yeah,
for a fact
okay.
I
Yeah,
work
yeah,
in the health,
okay.
I work in the healthcare
Okay, hold on.
profession with obese people.
Okay, I'm gonna sum it up for you. Seaway. I'm gonna sum it up real quick. The issues is like this. Most of the things that you speak on are true. They're acknowledged, but it's like this. It's like being the one family member that you know everybody don't like you. You know you the black sheep. Like, there's no point in hearing, I know my aunt don't like me because I smoke weed. I know my cousin don't like me because I used to sell drugs. I know my mama don't like me because I didn't graduate college. No matter what I do in life, even though in spite of that, I'm successful, I got a good job, I take care of myself, and then like no kids or whatever, folks still don't like me. Whatever. It's not gonna stop me. I've acknowledged it, but I'm not gonna sit here and stress over it and try to find ways to get them to like me. Look here, I'm gonna keep doing me, and I'm gonna succeed in spite of you. And at some point, you're either gonna get on board,
Or get left behind.
and all this shit, or shit,
Yeah.
take it to your deathbed. Make me know, never mind. So like issues like that, we need to just like, all right, it's here. We could do something about it right now, but truthfully, that type of energy could be better used and more feasible and more efficient means of getting us in a better position. What we can do as far as on those avenues is just put it on the back burner and use it for spite. Just hold it there. Like, these are reasons why we gonna succeed, so we can rub it in your fucking face. Like, oh, I ain't graduate college, huh? I'm worth $17 billion. Ha! Oh, I smoke weed, huh? Ha! Use that shit. Use it for that fuel that we need. Because trying to solve it ain't gonna get us nowhere. It's like being in a rocking chair. It's fun, but where are you going?
Well,
Are you going anywhere with it?
I'm not sure I understood what you said, but no matter what route we take, whether you're a reformist and you want to work within the current system, there are red flags. That is the reason why we're even having the discussion, because where we currently are now on the trajectory that has brought us here has put up all these red flags. There are all these health red flags. I know specifically from my profession, African-American women have the highest rate of obesity out of any group in America, 86%. Okay.
They're also the best cooks. So, I mean.
Okay. I won't argue with that. I won't argue with that. So what I'm saying is, when somebody challenges me by saying, well, I see red flags in your plan, I'm like, so what? There's red flags in every plan. There's the reason why we're even having a conversation now is because there's so many red flags in the current plan.
The red flags that I'm bringing up, I think the average person will walk away. That's why I'm saying there's red flags.
I agree.
Refine it, change the verbiage because it's off-putting. That's what I'm saying.
But
it's
that's
off-putting.
I'm sorry, Cheech. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's also with life anyway.
Exactly.
It's always a bump the red flags. There's always a risk in everything you're doing.
Exactly.
It's a risk. It's a risk with me being in this room. I probably might trip with my weights, or I live on the 3rd floor. It's a possibility that I probably might trip and fall downstairs and break my arm.
So do you want to, the question comes, do you want to take risks that lead to your self-determination and autonomy, or do you want to take the risks of integration?
Yeah, and I mean, I believe it's just the same amount of risk as working within the system and then doing your own thing. I
agree. It's the same. I would even say there's even more risk trying to leave the system and establish self-determination. I'll go so far to say it's even more riskier. That's the question that is being put to people. Are we going to get to the point where you're willing to assume even more risk to get the greater reward, or are you going to stay in the status quo? So we have plenty of plans that say, here's what we want by staying in the status quo. That's what Ice Cube's plan is. That's what Biden's plan is. That's what Trump's plan is. That's what Black Futures Lab plan is. That's what we have, all of those plans. Now we have at least one that I've put forward that says, well, here's a plan for those people who are willing to engage in a greater level of risk for a greater level of reward.
All right, which lead me to this question, which goes back to the government, because you don't trust the government. Obviously, you made that evident on this show that you don't agree with them whatsoever.
And let's just take a poll. Does anybody here trust the government?
Well, I think it's I don't think everybody will say that they truly,
I don't actually trust anybody. I mean, you're talking to somebody that doesn't actually trust human beings.
I'm just saying, you put it on me, and I'm just saying.
The government, by extension, is something humans make, so no, I don't trust it.
But I can throw this at.
Hold on. We didn't answer the question. Can we get a definitive yes, yay or nay? Do you trust the government? I just want to see where we all stand. Do you trust the government? Yay or nay? I say no.
I just trust the government to do what they need to do. But I will concur and say yes or no. I will say I don't trust the government right now.
Teach. Yay or nay? Do you trust the government?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, I figured. Beast?
Yeah. I trust that if any given moment I say or do something that might go contrary to the government, then or put myself on their radar, then they're gonna fuck with me, and I'm gonna have to answer that question one way or the other. So right now,
hold on, before you explain your answer, can we get a clear, definitive, like the Bible saying, let your yay be nay and your nay be nay. Can we get a clear yay or nay, just so we know where you stand clearly?
You asking 3 black people in America? It's obvious no, but for legal purposes, we try not to say it.
As if I'm some kind of pariah.
It's not. It's not that. It's not that. It's like I said, for legal purposes. But I figure I'm the one out of everybody on here. I'm probably the only one that knows about the judicial side of Black systemic racism in America. So
go ahead, boy.
Yeah, it's some things we ain't really trying to say right now.
I answered. I was about to. I answered. I'm the only one to answer. I said no. I said no right now. So I answered.
I'm gonna make a point.
Go ahead.
No. I wanted you were gonna make a good point.
Yeah, I said the reason why I said no right now, how the government is going right now. No, I do not trust it. With how the economy's going and how everything is going to be shut down again if this freaking spread continues.
But you were going to ask something about that was based on whether you would.
Yeah. So for you to have your own land, because I know you said that the farmers that you have talked to have their own land, and that you say we can, put everything, all your plan into motion there, but you still got to go through the government. So how can you propose this plan knowing that you don't trust the government worth the crap? Is my question.
Okay, great. So let's go back to the video that Teach wanted us to watch. In that video, Bobby Seale said you have to know your place in the world. Okay. Once you know your place in the world, you realize that you share this planet with other people who have organized themselves in other nations. Okay. And history teaches us that you enter into relationships with them that are constantly changing based on what's called geopolitics. At one point, England and France are friends, and at another point, they're not, and they're at war with each other. From a diplomatic geopolitical standpoint, you understand that the nature of the relationships change. Okay. We have a current relationship with the government right now. We're already in a relationship. Our relationship with the government is we are considered under maritime admiralty law as dead or lost at sea. This is the reason why when you go into court, they always win. Okay. Now we can change that relationship. Okay. The nature of the government that we have a relationship with is not going to change. Okay. Is not going to change. So when you ask me, how can you try to put forward a plan that has this kind of this based on developing a relationship or getting this from the government, it's because that's the nature of our position in the world, which is no matter what your standing in the world is, you're going to have some kind of relationship. You're either going to be an ally, you're going to be an enemy, you're going to be neutral, you're going to be isolated, whatever it is. So we can either continue the relationship in which we are essentially powerless, have no juridical standing, either in domestic courts or international courts. I spent 3 hours on the phone today with some of our best international lawyers. They were explaining this to me. Okay. So we don't trust the government. Okay. But like Beat says, once you understand the nature of this world and you got to roll up your sleeves and there's various levels of dirtiness, we got to sit down at the table and say, define our status and our position and bring our agenda to them and get them to realize, okay, this is the kind of relationship that we will agree to. We don't leave it to them to say what that relationship is. We have to first determine what we want that to be and then pursue it. We may be successful or we may not be. The reason politically why it's presented the way it is in this plan is because instead of trying to create something that doesn't exist, which is national independence, what we're saying is you have done this for 566 other groups. You have shown historically that you are willing to use this apparatus. We are now at the point, we've never been at this point before. We've never tried this. We've never had the tool to do it. We're saying now, considering the current climate, right, one way to pacify us, right, to bring peace is for us to be able to set, because this is what we're talking about. When we say defund the police, we want community control. Well, community control means community control. You can't come in here and dominate. That's what autonomy is. So this plan is based on what Black people are currently saying now and what the United States government is already going to do for other people. We have just never utilized the process. Now, it may work, it may not work. There are red flags, but if we don't have some kind of clear agenda apart from the internal integrationist agenda, we will never achieve autonomy. And I think all of us, if we're truly honest, we all realize that the fundamental reason why we're in this system is because they used military might to capture us. Their authority over us is based on might makes right. It is not based on morality, and it is not based on virtue. It's based on might makes right.
Okay, so this is my two issues that I got. So you gonna make this proposal in a room with basically, let's call it like it is, with a group of white men. Luckily, you have two spooks at the end.
You already set it up
black
wrong.
female.
You already set it up
But
wrong.
this is who you gonna have to eventually have to answer up to.
You already
That's
set it up.
basically what the government is.
No, hold on,
when
hold
you
on.
go up to them and you negotiate these things,
You
yes,
already
you
set
probably
it up. You already said it. What you should have said
But-
is we, right, 47 million strong or 20 million
But
strong.
see, here's the thing. You 47 million. I'm sorry, you kind of pushing it with the 47 million. Like if you said like 10, 20 million,
Okay, 10 million.
I'll be there. I'll be there with you. But
Okay,
still,
okay,
it's
Let's
And
try
see-
100.
see-
Try 100.
but see,
Try
but
100.
my thing is, see, boy.
5 million.
All right, see,
That's why it's
wait,
called a black agenda for self-determination.
yes,
We're
but
it's not an agenda for the United States. None of this is going to happen.
basically it is. If it's still going to be in the United States, it is going to be for the United States. You still going to have to sit up in that room because like I said, majority of white men.
You know what you missed.
Like
what
I said, and it's going back to back to that word, super PAC. And I'd rather be in the room with people that look like me,
Forrest, this is the
that actually works within the system.
this
That works within the system.
okay.
I'm gonna
When
tell you what
groom
I hear.
people.
It's
But
not
I'll
you
tell
need
you
people
what I
like
hear.
me that don't want to
for
see.
an individual. It's called what we're attempting to do is unify enough like-minded people to build the political base to be able to execute this plan.
But who do you have in the system that's actually going to push it in motion? That's my issue.
No, okay, there are people in the system right now because we've put some people in place already. But whether there are people or not is irrelevant.
It's all the way relevant.
No,
How can you say
Okay.
because
that? Hold on,
Okay.
Teach.
what I'm saying
Hold on.
is, once you understand your position in the world, you're going to realize that in most world
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
in most world forums, you don't have your people on the other team.
We mean on the other team. You have to position people so when you get there, it's already set up for you to win.
Okay.
You just can't sit there and say, "Oh, well, they're gonna play for our team." I'm not saying play for other team. Once again, you have to groom the people within your ranks when they get up there, and hopefully with somebody that's like, man, I've been trying to do this for years, and I finally got somebody.
We're not in disagreement here. For
Yeah,
example,
I know we're not, but
we're
I
not
mean,
in disagreement. What I'm saying is, some people that are going to choose this other, what I'll just call it the integrationist route, the inside route, right? You have people that are going to choose that still care about the black community. Okay. Name any one elected black official that you actually believe that cares about us that's already there. Those people are already in position. Okay. What I'm saying is, once you understand the nature of political power is based on what? Actual people on the ground, grassroots. If you go up there and you're just an organization, you got 5 board of directors and you only got 100 members, they're not going to take you seriously. But if you have 5 million people that you can credibly say, listen, our constituency is 5 million people, okay? Then you have the power to be able.
We're in overtime, by the way, everybody. Go ahead.
To be, let's put it this way, heard. You can sit down and negotiate because you have a significant constituency. So at this point, everybody is scrambling now to gain control of constituency. Biden is trying to say, black people, come with me. Trump is trying to say, hey, come with me. Ice Cube is trying to say, come with me. Okay. Diddy
In
is now
their own homes.
right. Everybody is trying to say, come with me. Okay. And so
Hear me.
whoever
I'm
wins
sorry.
that game, right, is going to emerge with more power.
All right, but with
Okay,
the small
can
number,
I
what you
say
just said.
something?
All right, but real quick, I'm gonna make this point real quick, then hand off to you, Teach. But for the small group of people of 100, you gotta start off somewhere, because if you got everybody, those 100, getting in and doing all the things that y'all set out to do, that's gonna grow the number.
Yes.
Which goes back to what Beast Johnson said. You got the slick talkers on the street sitting there saying, like, just keep it coming, keep it coming. Look, you should join this group and all that stuff. So yeah, I just want to make that point out there. But go ahead, Teach.
I just want to say there has been other plans of specific territories. I remember, I can't think of the group, but they wanted the state of Mississippi. They wanted all Black people to move from wherever they were located and take over the state of Mississippi. And the issues came up of fear that if they decided to make Mississippi a separate state with autonomy, that the United States would cut off the food chain. There'd be no interstate or international commerce. And people were just afraid that if they did that, that somehow or another the government would swoop in and kill them all. I
Which
think
time
that
period
may
are
be
you,
the
which
number
time
one
period are you
fear.
referring to? Just so I understand your reference. Are you talking about Mississippi
had to
Freedom
be-
Democratic Party? Are you talking about the Malcolm X grassroots movement that grew out of the Republic of New Africa? Right? Because I'm pretty much
can't
familiar
remember
with all of the
exactly
groups.
I can't remember exactly which group it was because it just dropped into my mind. But
Okay.
these were the fears that the people voiced. People at large were afraid of converging into one spot. People that lived in Florida didn't want to move to Mississippi. People that lived in California didn't want to come south. So
All right,
all
hey,
kind of
Morris,
logistical issues.
put up my plan again, because this is addressed specifically in the plan, and I want.
All right.
Teach brings up a great point. If you go to the end of action item number 3.
Okay, let me go and put your plan up. You said item number 3?
Yeah, at the end of action item number 3. Keep going. Now, this is right there. Go back up to that map of the United States.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back to it.
Scroll up just a little bit. There you go.
All
This is one of the most current digital atlases of the United States that show where Black people live, right? The red dots is us. Now, if Teach is going to just speculate on the credibility of the graph, then there's no point in talking. But let us just assume that the graph is correct, okay? Let's not get into a conversation about it. Let's just, for the sake
just
of
go ahead about the graph. Just go on about the graph.
we are
Just
already,
make your statement.
we don't have
You can't
to
control
move
what I
into
may
any-
want
we
to
don't
ask
have
a
to-
question
we
about.
don't have to move into any territories because we already live. We've already moved in there. We already occupy them. We're already there. This plan it simply says we can carve out territories where we're already the majority population, and only if that is unfeasible, right, then move to other areas of the United States where there is available land. Now, the reference that Teach makes, and people make these historical things with little understanding, their approach to what they were trying to do was very different than what we were trying to do. This is not based on confronting the government with national independence. Okay, that's not what this is. And this is a different time period, a different circumstance. So if we want to be stuck in the fear from the 1960s and 80s, then that's unfortunately shows that we haven't evolved and mature. What we're saying is there's now a process, a peaceful process that there doesn't have to be the fear that we can use, that 566 groups have already used. It doesn't require necessarily moving because we're already in these areas. This is what I'm saying. People are making comments, haven't studied the plan yet. Haven't really read. I'm not talking about breezing it, but giving it the attention it deserves so that they can make deep and meaningful, constructive contributions.
But also
You may
it
not
goes,
like my contributions, but I have every right to ask a question. I have every right to show the flaws. I have
You-
every right. And that you
You do
cannot
have
give
a
a judgment
right,
on.
but
You cannot give a judgment on.
a wise person is going to withhold commenting until they have read and digested the matter.
all right. So to bring it all into the middle with the questions and then not understanding, this is why you step in, Seepaway, and from yeah. So that's why I was happy when you put your plan out there and you explained it. And then Beast Johns, who actually just left because he had to go to take care of his dog and all that stuff. Thank you, Beast Johns, by the way. So that's why you explained it, you broke it down, and then you had Beast to translate it and all that stuff. So, but then also in teach right, you know, with her credibility, can skim and she can ask questions. So I won't see, because like I'll be the first one to say that I hate constructive criticism. I hate it. I get it almost every freaking day. But I have to bite the bullet and be like, okay, either I can sit here and get mad over spilled milk, or number one, I'm gonna defend my point when I know that I'm right, or be like, okay, cool, I just write that down and I'll be better prepared next time. So, but with that being said, with all the plans that I feel that I heard was very knowledgeable for me. And that's why, as a host, I don't bring my own stuff. This is just a learning thing for me. You know, I let everybody come on and explain their sides and all that stuff. And I do put my points here, and there. But I really do appreciate y'all bringing y'all points in and all that stuff. So do we agree to continue this on Monday? And then we're going to start writing it in and writing it down. Which also, by the way, I'm going to be putting up everybody's plans on the page. So I want to bring that forth to everybody. But are we willing to continue on with this?
I may not. I actually may not be here up until after my trip, because I have several papers to write and some research to do for the presentations that I'm giving. And I have a interview on the 4th.
Okay.
I have to prepare for that. So I won't, so that next week or two, I will be absent.
All right. Vacation. That's what she's saying. Beast Johnson.
No, I'll be working. I'll be working.
Beast Johnson, you could be good to come on Mondays. Look like it's just going to be the fellas.
I don't think Beast is here. Is he?
Yeah, he left. I said that he left. But I mean, like, just the fellas for Monday, that we can continue to talk about the Black agenda.
Hey, I'm willing so long as people want to hear. I'm not here to try to dominate or push my thing. I'm here because if people want to hear what I have to say, I'm willing. But if it's not constructive and it feels adversarial, then it might not be a good thing, because you can't force people. You can't force stuff on people. I have a plan. I have a lot of knowledge that I'm willing to share for the people who want it. I was invited to be on this show months ago by Teach, and I accepted the invitation. So I'm willing to take as much time as it needs, is needed for people who want to really hear what I have to say. Now, that requires that, people have to, if they want to hear what I have to say, then they have to do some work too. It does me no good to draft a plan that nobody reads, and then nobody can really
ask questions based on the logic from within the plan. So that's why I wrote it, so that I can get to the next level of talking about it.
All right, so let me go ahead and
I'm not sure that anybody really wants to hear this.
But see, that's why I'm going to post the plans, because at the end of the day, it's not based upon how we feel about it. It's based upon the audience or how they feel about it. Exactly. I never said that your plan was, a bad plan. I still have my questions and you answered them. So yeah. I get
I don't know. I don't know. This is what I'm saying. I don't know that the audience, because I'm not seeing comments. I'm not seeing questions. I don't know that the audience, this is what they're interested in. I'm not getting any feedback.
But so see, the thing is, I haven't posted it on the page yet. One, and then number two, some people that's watching the show, I can't force them to hey, put your comment and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm communicating with you. I'm saying, hey, I've made the commitment to you. I'm promoting the show. I love the opportunity to explain, but there's this thing where it's like, hey, you don't stay where you're not wanted. If this isn't resonating with people and this isn't what they need to hear, then it is a waste of both of our time. Okay. What I have seen is that a lot of that people are commenting on something that they haven't even read. They're either not commenting or they're commenting on stuff that they haven't even read. And that's not really healthy and conducive to me or to people I'm trying to work with. So I'm saying between now and next week, I'm hesitant to say, yeah, let's continue this, because it has to be constructive. There has to be constructive engagement. And I don't want there to be adversarial engagement, right? So my plan is there for anybody who wants to read it. And if they have questions and they want to hear me talk about it, I'm here. If they want to do some other subject, that's fine. And I might not even be qualified to speak on those other subjects.
But see, I believe that we gave you the platform, all that stuff to explain your ideas and all that stuff. If you felt like I came from a very adversarial way, I apologize. I never meant for that intention. But like I said, we gave you that platform, but I cannot force the audience to question and all that stuff. But if that's what you feel, I tell this to anybody, you do what you got to do. But I'm going to post this up on the page and have them decide, I'm not even going to say decide, but to read your plan. Like I said, you got a great plan. I don't know how many times to say that.
I want people to really get into it.
Let me say this. Iron sharpeneth iron. Okay? When I speak of red flags, I'm thinking of the average person and how they receive what you're saying. If changing a word, there's different connotations. Words give off different connotations. If changing a word will make your plan fly, it will fly. You may not think, and I can hold back, that my criticism is justified. But when I read through it, I made a list of questions, and I only asked a few of the questions that I had concerning your document. The thing that you must remember is this. One, everybody has an opinion, up to and including you. And what somebody else's opinion is should not even matter to you. You cannot you cannot be overly sensitive or highly sensitive about what people say or think, because this is your vision and only you can make your vision come to fruition. And the thing you have to realize is You have to plant the seeds and give the seeds time to germinate and grow. And your argument is not to the panel. Your argument is to the audience, the people that's listening. Those are the ones that you're persuading. Those are the ones that you're planting the seeds in their mind. So never mind the panel. Never mind them, because everyone come from our corner. Most of us is going to stay in our corner, and that's a true admission.
Right.
So,
well, no, I'm not going to never mind or dismiss the panel. In fact, is because of the panel that I'm on this show. I'm not particularly sensitive to the opinions, and that's not what I was saying. You are not the average person, Teach, and we all know that. And so I'm asking you straight up, yay or nay, right? Did you read the agenda?
I read the first few pages, yes.
Okay, what you just said was no, you didn't. You read parts of it. You haven't read the whole thing. And what I'm saying is,
I said that earlier. We don't have to go back over this again. I said that earlier, that I skimmed
what I'm saying
through it.
Is the amount of respect that I have for you, right? Which is why I'm on this show, right? I would like for you to return that. And I'm saying you're not the average person. And I would simply ask that you withhold your comments until you actually read the whole thing, and then we can have a more intelligent conversation. Because the way you came off, incredibly, you're picking and criticizing things without really showing me that you have processed what I have put out there. That's what I'm hoping that we can offer the audience, is a level of conversation that they can really benefit from, by people who can take this high level of thought and bring it to the audience.
Yeah, but see, Seepaway, also, that's where you, like I said, for you, when she has a question, like with everybody who had a question, include mine, you answered it. And you did that. So it goes back to what the point is when you go and you say this stuff about your plan. When, like I said, it's going to be posted on the page, so the people who's already following us, who already likes the page, can read it and judge for themselves. Because you answer all the questions. I just don't know the issue that because she didn't finish reading your whole entire thing, which is justified.
She's a teacher. She knows when somebody's read the material or not. When somebody writes an essay, right, and you can tell they're putting up a lot of words and they saying stuff, but they really didn't read it and understand it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, gotcha. But I'm just gonna go ahead and end it here. But I will ask you this on behalf of Seepaway. Teach, are you willing to continue to read his plan?
In the next 4 weeks, the answer will be no. And that's because of my own agenda. I have several papers to write and present over the next 2 weeks. And I have a topic I don't even know anything about. So I have to do some research. So I don't see time permitting in the next 4 weeks that I will be able to do it. And that's in all honesty.
And I respect that. But you hear what she just said? There's a topic that she knows nothing about. She has to do research so that she can speak on it. And I'm saying she knows nothing about my plan, but here she was speaking on it. And I'm saying, I respect that. So I'm saying I can't have a conversation about my plan with people who haven't read it. I just can't have a conversation about it.
No, Seepaway. I'll be honest with you. If I have read the whole plan, okay, and I still have my same position, you would feel that I just didn't understand. I just didn't comprehend. And I'm saying I did understand it my way. I understood what you said my way, and that's two different things.
Right
And
now
that's
you're
what you have to
speculating.
understand.
Right now
I'm doing what?
You're speculating. You said
No,
if
you do it
I-
all the time.
You're
You do it
speculating.
all the time. That
Okay,
is your
okay.
personality.
Now you're speculating on how I'm going to
Okay.
respond to
Oh,
some
okay.
hypothetical. If you read
Okay.
it and still
All
stop,
right.
it's all speculation. Teach, come on.
Okay, okay, all right. Let's go ahead. Let's stop. We're gonna end the show like this. Okay, so other than the panel, like I said, about probably going on 10 times, Seepaway's plan is going to be on our page, and we're gonna have the audience see and decide what they think about the plan, including the plan that Cheech put up to as well. They both is going to be on the page. Us as a panel, we could give our opinions, we could give our view. Well, I only use that old word, but we give our views. But it's up to the people that watch this show and people that follow us to decide. So let's go ahead. We're just going to end it right there and teach. If this is the last time we're going to see you until till you come back from your vacation, have a safe one. Stay safe. Seepaway. I will see you on Monday.
Okay.
You and Beast, and I'm gonna see if I can try to bring another. See if I can bring Mr. Jones on the show as well, because we're gonna continue on with this a black agenda. But other than that, our final thoughts is stay safe, wear a mask, also stay black. I don't think it can be anything else. So, so once again, great show, McCary. Thank you for your questions, comments, and all that. So hopefully y'all saw the comments and everything. Please tell your friends and family about this show. Thank y'all. So it's been a great week, even though I've been late for the first two, but it's been real. So as for Seepaway, Anita Joke, aka Teach, and then me, your host, Donald Monte Morris, has been real. Y'all have a good weekend. Stay safe. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye, y'all.
Latte sip.
Yeah.